Good afternoon. I'm Marla Newman, the chair of the National Low-Income Housing Coalition Board of Directors. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the 38th Annual NLIHC Housing Leadership Award celebration, honoring 3 exceptional affordable housing leaders. This year's event was to be held in March, but it was postponed due to the coronavirus pandemic and is now being held as this live stream. Before we get underway, I'd like to take a moment to offer our hopes and prayers for those along the Gulf Coast who will soon be enduring the impacts of Hurricane Laura. We know that in this time of the pandemic, as well as the tough time with housing, we're really concerned about their well-being and wish them all well through this time. Now to our program. First, I'd like to thank our donors and sponsors, and especially a thank you to Wells Fargo for hosting the event again this year. The proceeds for this event go to supporting all of NLIHC's work to address homelessness and housing poverty in America. Of course, our work has never been more important. With the pandemic having a devastating impact on people experiencing homelessness and low-income renters, and disproportionately impacting Black, Latino, and Native American people. NLIHC has again taken the lead in fighting for safe, decent, accessible, and affordable homes for those most in need. It is now my pleasure to introduce Eileen Fitzgerald, Head of Housing Affordability Philanthropy at Wells Fargo, the host sponsor of this event. Eileen has a distinguished career as a leader in affordable housing and community development, and both she and Wells Fargo are longtime friends and supporters of the coalition. Eileen?
Good afternoon, everybody. As Marla said, I'm Eileen Fitzgerald. I'm delighted to join you today to celebrate the work of the National Low-Income Housing Coalition and the contributions of 3 outstanding community leaders. At Wells Fargo, we believe home is a sanctuary. Home's fundamental to health, education, dignity, and opportunity. That's why last year we made a philanthropic commitment to invest $1 billion by 2025 to address housing affordability solutions. COVID-19 has exacerbated the affordable housing crisis in our country that for decades has contributed to rising inequality, housing insecurity, and homelessness. The economic downturn is disproportionately impacting people of color, as Black and Hispanic households are more likely to experience loss of income and difficulties making rent or mortgage payments. In the wake of COVID-19, Wells Fargo pivoted quickly to get funds out to communities to help the most vulnerable people housed. As part of this effort, we have provided more than $50 million to nearly 1,200 nonprofits across the nation that are working to keep people facing financial challenges housed. These include policy and peer networking organizations, legal assistance providers, housing counselors, affordable housing practitioners, and CDFIs. One of those grants provides flexible operating support for the National Low-Income Housing Coalition, in addition to our sponsorship today. I know we all appreciate the great work the coalition does through their insight and advocacy. For example, I'm on many calls each week where someone refers to the eviction resource database the coalition launched several months ago, and I know I use it myself personally very frequently. And as Marla mentioned, as Hurricane Laura now threatens the lives and housing security of millions of Gulf Coast residents, I know the work the coalition leads on disaster preparedness and response will be so valuable. So we at Wells Fargo are proud to support and celebrate the remarkable work of the National Low-Income Housing Coalition and the passion of the leaders we are honoring today. We recognize their selfless efforts and countless contributions. Bill Faith, Jennifer Ho, and our dear Shauna Sorrells are examples of an unyielding commitment to helping the lowest income people in America achieve a safe, decent, and affordable place to call home. As we celebrate these amazing leaders, we fully realize there is a lot more work to do. And we look forward to supporting efforts to making an affordable home a reality for everyone in our nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. And again, we thank Wells Fargo. Now for our awards. Our first honoree is recognized posthumously with the Edward Brooke Housing Leadership Award. The video, please.
The Edward Brooke Housing Leadership Award is named for the late senator from Massachusetts who championed low-income housing as a U.S. senator and as chair of the NLIHC Board of Directors after he left the Senate. The Brooke Award goes to an exemplary housing leader with a record of fighting for affordable housing on the national level. The National Low-Income Housing Coalition posthumously honors Shauna Sorrells, former NLIHC board member and chief operating officer at the Housing Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County, with the Edward Brooke Housing Leadership Award. Shauna committed her professional life to public and affordable housing, striving to improve the lives of low-income people, particularly children. In 2002, she began working at HUD and quickly rose to the position of director of the Office of Public Housing Programs. Shauna received several HUD departmental recognitions, including 4 secretarial awards from Secretaries Jackson, Preston, and Donovan, as well as an Assistant Secretary's Distinguished Service Award. More recently, at the Housing Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County, Shauna led efforts to address homelessness and housing poverty in Maryland. She was an executive committee member of the NLIHC Board of Directors, and she served on the board of directors of NARO and Homes for America. Quote, Shauna was extraordinary, a brilliant, bright light, wrote NLIHC President and CEO Diane Yentel about her friend and colleague. She was a remarkably active and effective housing advocate and practitioner. She brought to all of her work her wisdom, her expertise, her lived experience growing up in subsidized housing, and her deep commitment to the mission and the work of housing the lowest income people, unquote. Shauna is survived by her beloved son, Isaiah, by the many people who loved her, and by all those whose lives were made better by her steadfast and effective efforts. NLIHC is pleased to honor Shauna Sorrells with the 2020 Edward Brooke Housing Leadership Award.
On behalf of the NLIHC board, staff, and membership, it is my honor to congratulate the family of our great friend and colleague, Shauna Sorrells, for receiving the Edward Brooke Housing Leadership Award. Now, we are very pleased to share a few remarks from U.S. Representative Emanuel Cleaver of Kansas City, Missouri.
Hello, I'm Emanuel Cleaver. I represent Missouri's 5th Congressional District in the U.S. House of Representatives. And as you can see, I'm still Kansas City proud. And so I want to thank you for inviting me to speak today in honor of the life and legacy of Shauna Sorrells, one of Kansas City's finest housing advocates, and this year's recipient of the Edward Brooke Housing Leadership Award. I like to say 4 walls and a roof make up so much more than the sum of their parts. Having a roof over your head means safety, it means security. It means something more. It means a place to call your own. It not only provides people with comfort in the worst of times, but it gives purpose. A home can enhance our somebodyness. This is something I learned growing up in public housing. 26 miles from downtown Dallas, my family lived in Unit 405B Bailey. And we lived there until my father was able to save enough money to go out and buy a home. He bought a house in a neighborhood where we could not live. And then under the cover of darkness, he moved it to a neighborhood where we could live. And then we saw it right in front of us. Our father created in that house something that he believed to be a mansion, and he manicured the lawn and he washed the dirt off the house. That house still stands now, and it's the nicest house on the block, the diamond of that particular neighborhood. And Ms. Sorrells understood that. She understood what that means to people like me and many, many other Americans, that they can rest at night with a little more safety and security if they have a place to call their own. Now, to show you the impact of affordable housing, I can tell you right now, you talk to my 98-year-old father, and he can lay it out very, very clearly. Miss Sorrells understood people like me, like my family. And so she spent 2 decades fighting a fierce battle to provide countless people with homes, affordable homes. And these people in other circumstances may never have had a chance to live with a roof over their home. And so today I am pleased to be here to just say thank you so much for all that you've done, Ms. Sorrells. I'm saying that to your family in memory of you, because we have to now pick up the mantle. We have to fight. We have to push to expand housing. And we need to push in the most luxurious nation God has ever made, homelessness off our screen. It is insulting and it is shameful. And so in honor of Shauna Sorrells, I want to celebrate her life and legacy, because this was a remarkable woman. And now we, those of us left behind, must pick up the mantle and finish the work of making affordable housing available to every American. Thank you, and God bless the spirit of Ms. Shauna Sorrells.
Here now are some words from some of Shauna's colleagues and friends. I would now like to ask NLIHC President and CEO Diane Yentel to say a few words. Diane?
Thank you, Marla. Shauna was extraordinary, and she is missed. She's missed by me, by everyone at the National Low Income Housing Coalition, by all her former colleagues at the Montgomery County Housing Opportunities Commission and HUD, by her many, many friends, and by her family. Shauna gave 100% of herself to all of us and to the work of achieving housing justice. She did this work and she lived her life with joy, vibrancy, intensity, and grace. This work was in her bones. Her commitment came from her experience living in subsidized housing as a child and from a lifelong, deep understanding of the importance of home in all of our lives. She dedicated her career to this work, and she achieved and created a tremendous amount of good in people's lives through the work, in her much too short life. Her work lives on in all of us who will continue to carry the mantle, as Congressman Cleaver said, and in all of the low-income renters whose lives were improved through her dedication and outstanding work, which we honor her for today. But Shauna's proudest accomplishment, her greatest joy and her greatest legacy is her son, Isaiah. And I'm so glad to have Isaiah and his dad Solomon and the rest of his family here with us today to accept this award on Shauna's behalf. Isaiah and Saul, I'll turn to you.
Thank you, Diane, and thank you everyone on the board for recognizing Shauna with this award. As you said, Diane, one of the things that Shauna understood from an early age was the importance of a house. And it's not just the four walls and the roof over your head, it's the opportunities that it provides you at the end of the day to be able to go to school, to be able to sort of have food in your house, and be able to sort of focus on the things that are important to you. Shauna, as you said, did grow up in public housing for a period of time, but she never let that hold her back or determine her legacy in life. She was able, from public housing, to go to University of Chicago, start there, finish up a degree at the University of Kansas City, Missouri, and then come here and go to GW to get her PhD, get her master's. During that period of time, Shauna also not only was a go-getter, but she had the opportunity to meet Mr. Alonzo Jackson, who was the head of HUD at the time, and said, look, I'd like to work for HUD because I believe in housing and I believe it's important. And so that's how she started off at HUD. Not only was she working at HUD, but she was raising a son and also going to grad school at the same time. So she was a woman with determination and a lot of grit and a lot of knowledge and the ability to understand the importance of the things that she wanted. You are correct. The most important thing for Shoshana was her son, Isaiah. And the most important thing she wanted to provide him was a roof over his head so that he could feel safe and that he could feel loved and that he knew he had a home to come, he had a place to come home to. So with that, I'll let Isaiah say a few words. I'd like to thank you, Montgomery County Housing Authority, HUD, and all the places that have fostered and allowed Shauna to be who she was.
Like my dad said, I'd like to thank you all for presenting my mom with this award. Mom tended to work a lot, but when she did, she would always enjoy her work. And she always made sure that she found time for her friends and her family. She would, even when working, she'd always try to hang out with me and give me the support and anything that I would need, be it food or just bad jokes to laugh at me with, or even driving me to school. Making sure that I had time with my friends and my family like my dad here. I'm going to miss her, and I'm forever thankful for everything she did for me. And I believe that the work she was doing with HUD and HLC was very important, and I'm glad that she did it. And once again, I'd like to thank you all for presenting her with this award.
Thank you.
Thank you, Saul. Thank you, Isaiah. Our second honoree is recognized with the Sheila Crowley Housing Justice Award. The video, please.
The Sheila Crowley Housing Justice Award, named for former NLIHC President and CEO Sheila Crowley, goes to an outstanding leader who has elevated the conversation around affordable housing for those most in need. The National Low-Income Housing Coalition honors Jennifer Lemali Ho, Commissioner of Minnesota Housing, the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency, and former Senior Advisor at HUD and Deputy Director of the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness, USICH, with the 2020 Sheila Crowley Housing Justice Award. Jennifer has worked to end housing poverty and homelessness since 1999. As Executive Director of Hearth Connection, a Minnesota nonprofit organization, she managed a nationally recognized demonstration project on supportive housing and long-term homelessness for single adults, youth, and families in 2 counties and oversaw its replication in 34 additional counties in partnership with the Fond du Lac, Bois Forte, and Grand Portage tribal bands. Prior to leading Minnesota Housing, Jennifer served as a senior policy advisor for housing and services at HUD in the Obama administration and as a deputy director at USICH, shepherding the creation of Opening Doors, the nation's first ever comprehensive federal plan to prevent and end homelessness. She worked with First Lady Michelle Obama to launch the Mayor's Challenge to End Veteran Homelessness that reduced the number of veterans experiencing homelessness on any night by nearly half. Jennifer has served on the board of directors for Westside Community Health Services in St. Paul and nationally for the Corporation for Supportive Housing and the Melville Charitable Trust. As Commissioner of Minnesota Housing, Jennifer is working to provide access to safe, decent, and affordable housing and to build stronger communities, with the ultimate goal to ensure all Minnesotans live and thrive in a safe, stable home they can afford in a community of their choice. NLIHC is pleased to honor Jennifer Ho with the 2020 Sheila Crowley Housing Justice Award.
On behalf of the NLIHC board, staff, and membership, I am honored to recognize Jennifer Ho with the Sheila Crowley Housing Justice Award. Now, we are pleased to share a message to Jennifer from U.S. Senator Tina Smith of Minnesota.
Congratulations to my friend and a remarkable leader, Minnesota Housing Commissioner Jennifer Ho. I've worked shoulder to shoulder with Commissioner Ho, fighting for equity in housing and for the fundamental value that every person deserves a safe, stable, affordable place to live. Minnesota is especially lucky to benefit from Jennifer's leadership right now, as we're all recommitting ourselves to the understanding of systemic racism and inequity in our economic system and how it impacts the availability of housing. I am so happy that Jennifer's work is being honored with the Sheila Crowley Housing Justice Award. So congratulations again to my good friend, and I look forward to supporting your work in Minnesota to increase access to safe, affordable housing for all.
Well, thank you, Senator Smith. I have so enjoyed the opportunities we've had to sit together and listen and learn in Indian country and with young adults who are experiencing homelessness, and to watch you translate that into action in DC. Thank you for your steadfast commitment to housing. Sheila Crowley, I know you're out there. You have modeled housing justice by speaking truth to power about the moral choices Congress makes when they choose to fund tax cuts for the wealthy, the mortgage interest deduction for homeowners, and when they choose not to adequately fund housing assistance for people who need it the most. It is with great humility that I accept this honor named after you, Sheila, and to be in the company of brilliant leaders in this work, Mitch Katz and Matthew Desmond. Diane, thank you and your team for carrying on the legacy of speaking truth to power. And it's a real honor to be here with Shauna's family and with Bill. I wish I could be with you all in person, but housers are huggers, so I guess we're going to have to wait until there's a fully tested and fully used vaccine before we get back together in person. But you are the people who have given me these amazing opportunities in life. In a time that's as politically heated as this, I speak from my heart when I say it's an honor and a privilege to be a public servant. Government is often maligned because of politics, because of cynicism. But when you work for government, you're in it for the mission. That's true for the colleagues I've had the privilege of working with in both federal and state government. Public service has taught me so much about true patriotism. Until I came to DC to be a part of the Obama administration, I didn't fully appreciate that while we vote for president, that person picks thousands of political appointees who then select thousands and thousands more, and the quality of those who are appointed impacts hundreds of thousands more who have made public service their career. Those who disdain government should not lead it. My path to preventing and ending homelessness began in corporate America, working in managed healthcare. 21 years ago, I made a huge pivot to a small nonprofit with a big idea, that ending homelessness would be good for the people who had experienced it and for the taxpayer by being a much more effective use of scarce public resources. I've had the opportunity to know incredible people who do this work, from frontline workers to leaders like Nan Roman and Barb Poppy, Sean Donovan and Julian Castro. You taught me what housing justice is, and you modeled what it means to do the work. I owe all I have learned and been able to do to you and so many others. It's been 3 months since the murder of George Floyd in the Twin Cities. This is a hometown reality for me. His death punctuates the fact that housing justice and racial justice belong in the same breath. Sheila is a model for going big and being bold. Let's use this moment to fight for bigger and bolder solutions. So thank you so much for this amazing honor, for all the notes and texts that you've sent to me since it's been announced. I miss you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And now we'll hear some words from some of Jennifer's colleagues and friends. We thank Senator Smith for her words, and again, congratulations to Jennifer. Now it is time for our third award, the Cushing Dolbeare Lifetime Service Award. The video, please.
The Cushing Dolbeare Lifetime Service Award, named after NLIHC's late founder, who has been referred to as the godmother of the affordable housing movement, goes to an individual who has demonstrated an unyielding commitment to achieving decent, accessible, and affordable homes for low-income people over a long period of time. The National Low-Income Housing Coalition honors Bill Faith, Executive Director of the Coalition on Homelessness and Housing in Ohio, COHIO since 1994, with the 2020 Cushing Dolbeare Lifetime Service Award. Throughout his career, Bill has worked to end homelessness by advocating for expanding access to affordable homes. He has served individuals with disabilities, directed agencies serving people experiencing homelessness, and led affordable housing advocacy organizations. He has worked extensively with key policymakers to strengthen a wide range of housing and homeless assistance programs. Bill served on the NLIHC Board of Directors in various forms for 26 years and was the board chair for 6 years. Bill has won significant reforms against predatory mortgage and payday lending, defended fair housing, and advanced tenants' rights. He has fought tirelessly to create, protect, and expand the Ohio Housing Trust Fund, which recently surpassed $1 billion in revenue for homeless and affordable housing programs. Bill's passion for those left behind is evidenced by his fierce, strategic, and thorough advocacy. No one wants to be on opposite sides from Bill on any issue. He is the friend you want by your side. Bill's drive for making this world a more just and better place is simply his nature. He draws inspiration from his wife, Barb, his children, Elise and Ben, and his grandchildren. His most cherished title is Pop-Pop. NLIHC is pleased to honor Bill Faith with the 2020 Cushing Dolbeare Lifetime Service Award.
Bill, on behalf of the NLIHC board, staff, and membership, it is indeed my honor to congratulate you for receiving the Cushing Dolbeare Lifetime Service Award. Now, we are pleased to share a few remarks about Bill from U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio.
I'm Sherrod Brown, U.S. Senator from Ohio. Thank you to Diane Yentel and to NLIHC for having me today to introduce my longtime friend and partner, Bill Faith. Bill, thank you for your work in Ohio. Congratulations on receiving NLIHC's Lifetime Service Award. I can't think of anybody in this country who deserves it more than you do. Throughout Bill's career at Co-Ohio, he's led the fight to end homelessness and housing insecurity in Ohio and across the country. Bill's built coalitions. He's convened communities to fight for better housing policies and fight for housing justice. He gets both the big picture and the policy details that matter, that make an idea work on the ground in our state across the country. I've had the pleasure to work from and work with Bill on many housing issues, to learn from and work with Bill on many housing issues over the years, from combating predatory lending and foreclosure crisis that devastated so many Ohio communities a decade ago, to fighting for affordable housing as this administration slashes housing funds and builds into the system even more discrimination, to today working to secure self-housing and rental assistance. I'm grateful that Bill's been there throughout these fights in such a big way. I appreciate his counsel, his wisdom, his knowledge of what works and what doesn't work. I'd also like to say a word about Bill's wife, Barb Poppy, a leader in this fight to end homelessness, a terrific partner to Bill in so many ways in his lifetime of work. Thank you to Diane. Thank you to everyone on this call for honoring Bill for the work you do, fighting every day. Next year, the Senate Banking Housing Committee is going to look a lot more like the Senate Housing Committee if elections come out the way I hope they do. And my partnership with Bill and with Barb and with Diane and when all of you will continue and grow. So thank you again for your tremendous work. Congratulations, Bill Faith. Thanks so much.
Thank you to Senator Brown for those words. Here now are some words from some of Bill's colleagues and friends. We now invite Bill to share some words with us. Bill?
Thanks, Marla. I got to say just a couple things about my friend Sherrod Brown. He, it's great having such a fearless champion for affordable housing as our U.S. Senator. He's now leading the fight for emergency rental assistance to help unemployed workers facing eviction or foreclosure during this pandemic. So, he's been more than just our senator. He's been a friend. He actually is a strong advocate in his own right and teaches me to be a better advocate. So thanks, Senator, for your leadership in the midst of a dithering Senate. Hashtag relief now. So I also want to congratulate my fellow honorees, Shauna's family, Isaiah. I appreciate all your words and all the work of Shauna over the years, and also to Jennifer Ho, a good long-time friend in this work. I wanted to spend a little time talking about Cushing Dolbeare because this award is made in her honor. I want to point out it's a Lifetime Service Award. One of my family members called it a Lifetime Achievement Award. And I said, no, it's just a service award. So that just points out the importance, once again, of how important it is to just show up in life. Years of service can pay off. It is particularly meaningful for me because of Cushing's longevity in this work. She started what was called the Ad Hoc Low-Income Housing Coalition in 1974. So she organized a broad-based group in response to President Nixon's moratorium on new federal housing, and then there was no looking back. That year was the same year they passed the 1974 Housing Act, which was historic legislation that established the Section 8 housing programs, CDBG, expanded FHA mortgage insurance, and so many other important housing policies. She served as NLIHC's director from 77 to 84, but then was pulled back again in the 90s to serve once again. She was always a special advisor and friend of the coalition. I think she worked with almost all HUD secretaries, meaning from the beginning. She was their advisor. She remained active up until her death in 2005. Her loyalty and tenacity were unmatched. I mean, she worked with housing organizations throughout her retirement. In fact, she gave a speech just 9 days before her death. I was impressed with Cushing because she appreciated the power of good data as a tool for organizing for housing advocates. She was one of the first to use the power of the computer to crunch data, if you could believe that. She analyzed the housing data. She figured out how to present the need in understandable terms. She loved to point out the mismatch between who needed housing assistance the most and who actually got subsidized the most. She also, along with Kathy Nelson, developed a methodology for out of reach, which is over the 30 years it's been used, has shown in a compelling fashion how housing is out of reach for our lowest wage workers. I remember her around board meetings. She would always reach out to new people. She'd always reach out to residents and the young emerging activist. She rarely leveled criticisms toward anyone. She kept open dialogue with administrations and political leaders, regardless of their party. She chastised me more than once for making snarky remarks about some politician or another. And she pointed out on more than one occasion how we never passed any big federal housing legislation without the support of the Republicans. In 1995, Jason DeParle called her the Dean of Washington Housing Advocates. And in fact, she was our resident instructor, and whose disarming Quaker style welcomed all to the work. And Diane is the first president and CEO of NLIHC that has held that position without the direct involvement of Cushing. I know that Cushing would be very proud of the work that Diane has done in taking the coalition to new heights, using many of the same gifts Cushing brought to the table, along with plenty of her own strengths. And I love her righteous indignation when current leadership does seemingly unending, boneheaded moves. So I appreciate NLIHC for this recognition. I truly appreciate the tireless advocacy of the board and staff that you bring to your task day in and day out under very difficult circumstances, pandemic or not. I've heard from a lot of family and friends that I appreciate all your support. Let's not forget that this another purpose of this event is a fundraiser. So if you haven't given, there's still time to make a contribution to NLIHC. Thank you very much.
Congratulations again, Bill. It is now my pleasure to pass the baton to NLIHC President and CEO, Diane Yentel. Diane?
Thank you, Marla. And I just want to again extend my congratulations and thanks to these three exceptional leaders, Bill Faith, Jennifer Ho, and Shauna Sorrells. We are all incredibly inspired by their leadership. The work of leaders like these three honorees and of NLHC and our partners across the country has never been more important, as the COVID-19 pandemic has shown in starker relief than ever the economic, health, racial, and housing inequities in our country. NLIHC and our members and partners throughout the country have led the fight for an equitable response, and we will continue to do so throughout this pandemic, in the aftermath of Hurricane Laura, and beyond. But I also want to once again thank Wells Fargo and all of the sponsors of this award ceremony and our other donors. Your contributions not only celebrate our 2020 Housing Leader Award honorees, they support all of NLIHC's work to achieve socially just public policy that ensures that the lowest income people have decent, accessible, and affordable homes. We have our work cut out for us in this incredibly challenging and unprecedented time. But I am as certain as ever that together we can and will end homelessness and housing poverty in our country. What follows will be the event sponsors. Please note that we have a full Housing Leadership Awards program that can be accessed on NLIHC's website at nlihc.org. So thank you for your support and for your participation. Please join everybody at the National Low Income Housing Coalition in keeping all the people in the path of Hurricane Laura in your thoughts and in committing to working with them towards an equitable and just recovery. And please take care. Thank you.